Alright, we're back and we're going to figure out a pattern rule that relates the number of students to the total cost. Alright, so I'm going to think about this by looking at the output that's here and the input here, and I'm going to look for a hint in the pattern of my output. So I can see that it's going up by 5 each time. Alright, and as I've said before in previous lessons, that is often a hint as to what's going to be, happening in an input-output machine. This question isn't asking us, to create an input-output machine. However, sometimes it's beneficial to create one and to figure out the mathematical equation that fits inside the input-output machine. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to look at the pattern of the output. It's going up by 5 each time. I think I'm going to use that hint, because often this is correct. I'm going to try a times 5 as the first step of my input-output machine. And I'm then going to have a plus 75 right here. Now, why did I put a plus 75? Well, that's because the school bus rental is $75. And the input is the number of students. So if I have one student, I have 1 times 5, which is 5. And then I have 5 plus 75, which is 80. And that matches my first input and my first output. I'm going to test it again. I've got to kind of double check. Try the second input number. 2 times 5 is 10. And 10 plus 75 is 85. Alright. So I've double checked it, so I know that the operations that are inside my input-output machine are correct. Alright, now what do I do with that knowledge? Well, I'm going to go back to the part where it says write a pattern rule that relates the number of students to the total cost. And when I am asked to do something like this, basically what I'm going to do is make a little sentence that is explaining what's happening inside my machine. So it would start like this. The first operation is multiply, so I'm going to use that as my first word of my sentence. Multiply the number of students by 5. Then add 75. Okay? Now I think this is a correct pattern rule that relates the number of students to the total of cost. I'm basically explaining what I'm doing with my input number, which is the number of students, and I'm telling you what's happening. How am I getting to my output? How did I get there? Well, I multiplied the number of students by 5, and then I added 75. Okay? Now it says use the pattern rule to find the cost for 25 students. Well, I'm going to do that right underneath here. Alright, so I'm doing this part of the question. Use the pattern rule to find the cost for 25 students. Multiply the number of students. Okay, well, the number of students is 25, right? That's what they're asking me to find. So I'm going to make a math question. I'm just going to write it out. 25 times 5 plus 75. And if I find the answer to this, I am going to get my final answer. Alright, so here's how I do it. 25 times 5. Well, I basically have to figure that out. And, well, I'll just do it down here. 25 times 5. This is what you would be doing if you had this question. You'd get some loose leaf and you'd work through it. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So the answer is 125. Alright? So I'm going to take the answer and just put it right underneath, like that, 125. And then I'm going to rewrite the part of that original question that I haven't really used yet. Sorry, that should be 75. 125 plus 75. Now I can do that part. 125 plus 75 is 200. Okay, so that's kind of my final answer. You'll notice that I've kind of made a triangular shape with my numbers, and my final answer is right on the bottom. This is more of an algebra style of solving an equation. It's probably new for you, maybe the first time you've ever seen it, but we're going to do quite a bit of that this year. Alright, so I'm introducing it now. Alright, so the answer to this, using the pattern rule to find the cost for 25 students, I just did that. Alright, the cost is $200. 200 bucks. Alright, suppose the total cost was 180. How many students will be on the trip? Well, I'm going to do a different video and show you that one.